Well, hello everyone. Today we have with us Dr. Tim Meyer from the Department of Agricultural Economics at University of Nebraska Lincoln. Tim, it's great to have you join us for our conversation. I know that I bug you all the time when I have teaching related questions. So I am really happy to have you share a lot of wisdom that you have kind of gathered along the way with our audience. So without further ado, my first question to you is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, including a fun fact?
Absolutely. So it feels weird having the word wisdom attached to me in any way, but this is, depending on how you count it, my 19th or 20th year teaching full time. So I have been doing it for quite a long time, and it's been an econ department, and then an econ department within a school of agriculture, and now ag economics. So I do have a little bit of experience with different ways to view economics. Uh, and a fun fact about me that you already know is that I have twins that are within, I think, 2 days of the same age as your twins. And I'm a twin as well. So when they do something that's naughty, or basically when they do something that's naughty, I understand what is upsetting them. But we're very, very happy to have them.
Should I say that I appreciate the fact that you automatically did not say things like, which I've had other friends say is, okay, now you can do an experiment, at the same time and, expose them to different treatments, etc., etc.
Well, what I correct them on, what I get is they'll say, oh, the economist having twins, and they'll talk about some cost saving theory that they think applies to having two at the same time, but it does not apply when you have twins because I have girls and you can buy them two of the exact same toy, say it's a Barbie doll, and they will fight over one of the exact same toy. So who knows?
Preferences, right?
Yes.
Something that we talk about all the time. I know you talk about that a lot in your classes. Um, so my next question to you is, what is one of the most fulfilling aspects of your current professional role?
Well, and I didn't notice this until I turned my camera on. I have a thank you note that's hanging on my ledge back here that actually came from two of our PhD students.
Wow.
And I'll get these notes. Um, I don't know what cosmic beliefs your viewership has, but it feels like I get them right when I need them. I need a pick me up, and someone from my past teaching, or sometimes it's current, will send a note and they'll say, "Hey, just wanted to let you know, thank you for whatever it is that I've done." And that really does pick you up. Something that happens on a more day-to-day basis, though, is when I have good classes, I always have students that hang out at the end and want to discuss further. They have specific questions. And while I encourage them to ask those questions in class, I know that sometimes they have more personal questions and not personal, like personal,
Sure, sure.
but it might be about, hey, my dad's got a big loan that it's a term loan and we need to figure out how to refinance a large tract of land or something like that. And they want to talk to me. And that really makes me feel good because I know that I'm hitting the mark when it comes to the overlap of theory and what actually happens in agricultural production.
And may I say that also kind of, at least to me, when you shared this right now, it's about the relationship of trust between you and the student. And that is something that we hope as instructors to kind of establish, at least for a semester or for a more long-term basis. So that's absolutely amazing. And yeah, for those who don't know, Tim, if I might add, you don't have a lot of interactions with the graduate students in our department. So the fact that, two of our graduate students sent you a thank you card is absolutely amazing. If that I'm sure that made your day.
It really did.
Fabulous, fabulous. Um, can you share with us a professional project or endeavor which you think has been very, very impactful?
It's kind of by accident. All of us are assigned Cornhusker economics articles that we need to write.
That's right.
And sometimes I forget that I have one that is upcoming or due. And a couple of years ago, I had 48 hours to get it done. And I was kind of fretting, and an idea wasn't coming to me at night or in the morning in the shower when those things happen. And I just decided to write about something that we were learning in class. And I think at the tail end of Introduction to the Economics of Agri, or in the introduction to the introduction to ag economics, we do talk about macro.
Mm-hmm.
And the article that I wrote was titled something along the lines of uh, the stock market, the economy, and a big bucket of chicken. And I wrote about how I explain gross domestic product from both the expenditure and the income approach. So, how can we view the economy, which you, of course, know is gross domestic product? It's not the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
It's unemployment, it's job creation, it's that big pile of stuff that we produce. But how can we view this national income as something that is representative to us? And I used a bucket of chicken. I don't think I said KFC, but that's what I had in mind. And I got immediate feedback from several of our colleagues that, hey, this was really fantastic. And so that's kind of what I've tried to do when I'm assigned Cornhusker economics now. A recent article that I wrote was about unpacking the paradox of negative cash flow and positive profit. So this is a situation that many farmers are going to face, especially if they're taking out loans to make land purchases. They're going to have really, really tough financial feasibility. They have negative net cash outflows or net cash flows, but they have positive profit. So how can
Mm-hmm.
that be? And writing a story that explained, here's how we can see this through the eyes of a balance sheet of someone who has a lot of cash and can absorb the year-to-year negative shortfalls of cash. So I've been trying to think about those somewhat as a legacy of maybe by the time I'm done, I'll have 20 or 30 of them written that really are an easy to digest way to understand some of our tougher topics that they're tough at the 100 and 200 level, and they're tough when we're 45 years old as well.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that not am I'm not saying that only because you are here as our guest today, but it's definitely true. This is a gift in some sense to be able to take really complex things and to be able to write it in a way that people who don't have that level of disciplinary understanding, they might have a lot of real life and applied understanding, but not that disciplinary understanding to actually see the nitty gritties of it and understand what we all of us in our department and in other departments everywhere are about. So that's awesome. Moving on, looking ahead, what do you think are some of the most exciting developments we can expect to see when it comes to teaching foundational ag econ classes like you do? You're like the gatekeeper, if you will. Everyone sees you first before they see everybody else.
Well, I can promise you there is one thing that isn't going to change, and that's that introductory economics will always be difficult. And I tell
Mhm.
students that it's difficult because it's sneaky. If you walk into an organic chemistry classroom or even calculus, which is, to mathematicians is just an entryway into really thinking about math, it's obviously hard. You know, looking at balancing a chemical equation, it looks hard. Looking at things through a microscope, the hard sciences have an obviousness to them that in economics, when I'm teaching and I'm talking about preferences, and we just talked about transitivity, and I try to trap my kids into contradicting transitivity when we're trying to figure out where to eat out. Um, those things are easy to talk about and they're easy to understand when there's someone who's taught it
Mhm.
maybe 100 times. But then when you're faced with that critical thinking, it becomes difficult. So that's not going to change. Um, but what I do think is going to change is once students have been empowered with the use of economic theory to view the world,
Hmm.
we have a more dynamic time going on right now in terms of the economy than you or I dealt with. And really, when we look at our lives from post-collegiate until maybe 5 years ago, um, we lived through interest rate environments where everything was a net present value investment. Interest rates were so low that there was really no critical thinking involved. Every project would pencil out. And now we're in an interest rate environment where we really have to be far more diligent about understanding the highest and best use of scarce capital resources. So students will see that, and I think that their heightened decision making uh, will be more valuable. Um, and I hate to be I'm not a political person, um, but I know that I grew up in a world where I didn't know what an avocado was because the full implementation of NAFTA had not trickled its way into my mom's kitchen, and I didn't know what an avocado was, so we didn't have guacamole, and then have got to live and see the benefits of globalization at a lot of different levels, and now that we see some of those ideals being reversed, there's going to be opportunities to teach things and show this is what economic theory says would happen or should happen, and how did it pan out. So it's kind of day one stuff when we're maybe I'm talking over people and we're talking about positive and normative analysis. There are a lot of opportunities and examples now that are going to keep presenting themselves for the next 5 and 10 years that maybe I didn't have at my disposal beforehand.
Yes, and you're very right. When we were growing up, when we went through the levels that you teach at, things, as you were saying, I was thinking it was somewhat slow.
Mhm.
Now everything is like changing rapidly, and our students' thoughts have to kind of keep pace with that change while developing baseline critical thinking and understanding. So that is actually a lot. And I had never thought of it that way. So thank you so much for kind of, expressing it so nicely. Great. Now, we all have areas we are working to improve. So, can you share something, one of your weaknesses or something that you're actively addressing or want to address? And sometimes this can be a little bit of a tricky question for people because nobody wants to be, so openly vulnerable. But one reason that I ask this question is because I think I would benefit from knowing what others are feeling and what they are going through. So yeah, that's that. That's my reason for asking that question.
Well, I can think of two, and
Okay.
you've already experienced one of them, and that's that I talk too much. And in my mind, I believe that if I'm trying to get from A to B and I go to X, Y, and Z on my way to get to B, as long as I find my way back to B, it's okay. But if I've lost someone listening to me along the way, then that's not okay. So I I know that I have to be more explicit about pausing and saying, okay, let's go back and think about what our objective was. What was the learning idea? What was my outcome that we wanted? And why have we been waylaid a little bit? So that's one. And the other one is similar, and it has to do with the way that I approach the classroom.
Mhm.
I want every student to think that they are having an individual conversation with me. You're not going to find uh, many teaching scholars who say that the sage on the stage pedagogy, just a lecture, is effective. It's not. But if you have 100 people in the room, it's really the only thing you've got at your disposal.
Mhm.
So I modify that and try to think about what if I only had 10 people in the room? And there's really no reason to not treat a classroom with 100 as if there's 10. but it does mean that you need students willing to engage in conversation as if they are one of 10. And then the rest of the room is experiencing that type of engagement, even though they're not actively part of it. Well, this is great when it works. But if I'm asking a question and I need participation from someone and I'm not getting it, then this casual way to approach a lecture falls flat. And
Mhm.
so being aware that it can fall flat and having a specific backup plan is something that I've been working on so that it's uncomfortable for one, but you're just not getting anywhere. So you have to have a defined backup plan is something that I'm trying.
That's such a great point, and I'll tell you why. For those who don't know, this year is the first time that I'm actually doing like a survey component for my natural resource and environmental economics class. And Tim, I've shared the, materials with you. I've, solicited your expert feedback, and it just hit me or last week is that I should have had a backup plan for that assignment. Well, I guess I'm hoping I will not need it, but this is something that I really wanted to do for this class for a very long time. So I guess we'll find out towards the end of the semester, and I'm already getting great engagement from students. So I'm happy, but we will see how it kind of pans out. But that's a yeah, those are two great points that you mentioned, and I am guilty of being long, windy, and taking a lot of time to get to my point. So I should follow your advice. Yeah,
Well, I tell
I should pay
I tell
attention.
students that they should throw something at me. And I'm waiting for the day that somebody wads up a piece of paper and gives it a good chuck. I'll enjoy that.
Again, alluding back to the relationship of trust and comfort that you have created in the classroom. Awesome. Looking back, if you could redo something professionally, what would that be?
Well, now you're really kind of getting to the heart of my regrets or insecurities. Um, I have stumbled into academia. Um, I have a doctorate in education and a master's degree in economics. And while I was getting that master's degree in economics, my advisor said, why don't you enroll in the PhD program? And I didn't think that I wanted anything to do with academia or research or teaching or just anything education related. I was just avoiding the responsibility of adulthood by enrolling in that master's program. And I wish that I would have just gone ahead and gotten a PhD because I know that um, I, I know what the PhD program was, and I was just afraid of doing 2 more years of work. It wasn't something that I couldn't do. So that would be the one regret that I have, or what I would do differently if given a chance to do it over again.
And for sure, you're not the only one with, regrets. I wish I had taken more classes in graduate school, read more papers. And I know that it's not at the same scale or scope as what you've shared, but every single day I think about that. I really do regret that a lot. Um, anyhow, um, moving on, what is some advice you wish you had received from a senior professional? And you alluded a little bit to that you would pass along.
Hmm.
Excuse me.
Boy, that I don't know that I have a specific answer to that. Because I don't think that I think that I've been pretty proactive about asking for advice. Uh, if I'm faced with a professional decision, going to people that have done that prior to me. Um, I think that it, I don't have an answer.
No, but I think that's good because one of the things that, if I might kind of try to distill an answer from you, from your responses, is that, putting yourself out there in terms of, if you have a question then you don't have an answer to it right away, rather than just, kind of being in your, in your own office and thinking about a solution, you just go and ask people. Because if only to not follow what they did or discount whatever that they say, but then, your decision then is informed, based in more information. And I think that's a very good piece of advice that uh, at least I took away from whatever you said, for sure. So then, my last but one question is that, what guidance do you have for, early career scholars, students, postdocs, more junior people in the profession who are really, they have identified teaching as their passion?
So, Samanti, the graduate students that have thanked me in the past, so the last two, helping them through qualifying exams. But prior to that, the work that I've done with graduate students has been to help them prepare teaching demonstrations. And many of them, and I so remember teaching for the first time and being given all of the responsibility and no support whatsoever. um, Providing them with some resources to be what I call just good meat and potatoes teachers, because we don't have to be uh, super innovative or amazing to begin with. We have to be just have lots of substance. So that's something that I've really been proud of that I've been able to do. But some of the advice that I've given those people that might be tough to hear is that depending on who your research advisor is, they might not want to hear that you want to go teach. That doesn't enhance their research profile. It and that's the game. I mean, we know that that is what happens in big R1 institutions and smaller institutions as well, to go forward with gaining tenure and promotion and raises
Mhm.
and international recognition. So if teaching is something that you want to do, by all means, I would encourage it, because I think that some of the people that I've been colleagues with who kind of look down on teaching would be great teachers. And I think that they would find lots of satisfaction from sharing a passion for something with people who don't know that they have that passion yet. Um, for people that think, gosh, I like this. This is a part of my career that I want to grow and be a full-time part of my career. Find advocates, find people that share that opinion. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
you have to lie or that you have to not be truthful about it being something that you want to pursue, but find other people, and I think that the podcast that you're doing will do that. If I get an email out of the blue from someone who says, I listened to Dr. Banerjee's podcast and um, you said to reach out, so here I am reaching out. I think that would be great. So find folks
Mhm.
who think the way that you do. Now, by the way, finding folks who don't think the way that you do is one of the joys of life. But this is an area where find someone else who loves to teach and work with them.
Absolutely. And I will say is that, personally, I feel that I've come to teaching late. In my professional career, when I started out, I was very much interested in just doing research. And it's now that in the last couple of years that, I've been really thinking about my professional legacy, if you will, and impact. And I'm wondering that, how can I do that in ways which are different from the research that I'm doing? And the impact of research is sometimes, it takes a very, very long time to show up. So, in some sense, where is the immediate gratification, if you will? And teaching is definitely one of them. But that's excellent. So, my last question to you is that, what is something that you are really, some exciting things that Tim is planning to pursue in the near future?
Well, I have a non-professional answer to this. I
Okay.
have a 15-year-old Cannondale tandem bike that I have refurbished, and
Oh,
my son and I are going to do some bike packing on it. Uh, the furthest that we have ridden it is 30 miles. And depending on what kind of shape I can get into, I think we plan on some 100-mile days.
fabulous, fabulous. And that kind of is a very nice ending to this conversation, because what it indicates is that, the value and the, the benefits of, work-life balance, if you will.
Mhm.
with
Absolutely.
significant health benefits in the mix. But thank you so much, Tim, for your time today. I'm sure this conversation is going to be really useful to many people who tune in. And I wanted to tell our audience that if there's if you've been meaning to write a thank you note to Tim or anybody else, really, just go ahead and do that.
It is and that's funny because when I get them, then that reminds me, hey, I should send a note to someone from my past. And because I'm sure it hits the same way for those that it does for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great. Thank you so much, Tim.
Bye now.
Have a good one. Bye.